The map is gone. It's been taken out. We've got a completely new setup. The Labor Party completely smashed all the major parties in the actual lower house. They have a majority in the lower house, and in the Senate, they'll basically be able to get any legislation they want through, but they still need to get votes past David Pocock and some of the other crossbenchers like One Nation. But moving forward, I've got three really interesting topics I want to talk to you guys about tonight. The first one is the Liberal Party. What's going on with the Civil War? There was a massive documentary that came out on Four Corners, the ABC. I hate the ABC, but they came up with this 40 minutes of the best bit of ABC that I'd seen, and I thought it was really interesting to talk about. The second thing I want to talk about is the Conservative Party in the UK. Is this Boris Johnson on his last legs? He had 2 resignations, which happened in the last 24 hours. It's a pretty wild time for them, and I'm really interested to see how things pan out for him. And the third thing I want to talk about is the return of the clown show, essentially. What we're seeing is Brad Hazard and Kerry Chan, especially in New South Wales, but also in the other states, looking at reintroducing COVID mania. And a lot of you guys are sick of it. A lot of average Australians that got jabbed, even they're sick of it. And you see that in the comment sections. And I really want to go back and forth and have a chat and see exactly where things are going with that. But before we get into that, breaking news, everyone. We've got a situation where the European Parliament has declared nuclear power and gas as a green energy. Now, a lot of you are on the same page as me with nuclear. You kind of like it. You've seen through the propaganda against it, and you're actually in support of it. There's no emissions, no carbon involved, and it just seems like a no-brainer for baseload power. Well, just to let you know, in about 2 days, maybe on Friday, around about 4 p.m., 5 p.m., I'll be doing a live stream. I'll be looking at this excellent Sky News documentary where Chris Kenny, really good guy, great on COVID as well. He was really good and against lockdowns. He did this great documentary about nuclear energy, and it goes for about 50 minutes. I'm going to be watching that with you guys on 5 p.m. on Friday, and I'm really looking forward to having a listen and hearing what your thoughts are. But moving forward, I mentioned to you guys that there was this really interesting documentary coming out by Four Corners, this segment where they were going to sit down and look at exactly what's going on. Now, after an election, especially if you're in a major party, you go back to the drawing board if you've suffered a big loss. The Liberal Party suffered a massive loss. There were so many mistakes that were made, and this Four Corners documentary, it's about 40 minutes. It goes into exactly what happened. We're not going to look at it tonight. We're going to look at that tomorrow, round about 4 or 5 p.m. tomorrow. So tune in tomorrow. We'll watch it together. And it goes through some really interesting characters in the Liberal Party that are real conservatives that tried to reform the Conservative Party so it's more democratic, but they got crushed by the people that like Scott Morrison and Alex Hawke. Here's a preview. I played it this time last week. Let me know what you think.
The general public is completely turned off by what they see as factional games.
I'm speaking out because many people inside the Liberal Party aren't able to speak.
Factional warfare exposed.
I can't remember another time where there was such confusion about pre-selection.
There were people that were working hard to take me out.
Inside the Liberal election loss.
This cancer needs to be cut out.
What do you make of that?
I thought I'd seen it all.
I better not talk about this. I'm sorry.
Four Corners, Monday, ABC TV and ABC iView.
I've already listened to it once, but I want to listen to it twice with you guys. It was really spicy, really interesting to see what's going on. John Ruddick there, you would have noticed the guy at the end saying, I can't really talk about this. John's a great guy. I've interviewed him a couple of times in the past, really knowledgeable on politics, and he's someone that ran for the Liberal Democrats in New South Wales, the Libertarian Party. He was the lead Senate candidate. Phenomenal bloke. Guys, there's 500 people listening live right now. Give this a share. Get it out there. I got plenty of content. It's good to be back. I'm really excited to see what's in store for the country, and I'll be continuing my rolling coverage. Now, this Matthew Kamanzuli guy that was alluded to in that documentary, in that short clip, he was interviewed on Tuesday, the day after this Four Corners documentary aired, and it was really interesting to hear what he had to say to Chris Smith. And I have done a poor job of explaining exactly what happened. Chris Smith did a really phenomenal job on 2GB, and this is what they came up with.
9 minutes to 8 o'clock. There's some messy infighting within the Liberal Party at the moment. They're blaming The Coalition's federal loss on the way the party has been operating. Now, the sticking point, which is understandable, was the way they selected candidates in about 8 seats. They left it to the very last minute and didn't allow the rank and file from various districts and seats to vote on pre-selections. It was Scott Morrison and Alex Hawke who made those decisions. And the whole thing came to a head when one Liberal Party official took the federal executive to court. His name is Matthew Kemenzouli. He unsuccessfully argued they had no power to intervene. And he let rip on Four Corners on the ABC last night, saying that certain members within the Liberal Party are cancers that need to be cut out. The former Liberal Party official, Matthew Kemenzouli, is on the line right now. Matthew, good to talk with you. Tell me, is Alex Hawke the cancer?
Well, Chris, I think I made that pretty clear last night, mate. Yeah, I do think so.
He has been the iron fist in the New South Wales Liberal Party, and certainly at a federal level, deciding on left-of-centre candidates preferably, hasn't he?
Yeah, look, it's been a consistent thing. It's all about the transaction for that particular group.
When you say the transaction, it's about creating a different Liberal Party using non-conservative policies and philosophies?
Well, look, I think the party certainly has very much lost its way. Certainly walking away more and more from its own "we believe" statement, which is enshrined in the Constitution, the rule book. And the more the party does that, I think the more difficult it's going to be for us to find our way back into government, or at least for the Liberals to find their way back into government.
See, I think in the New South Wales context, that's exactly what's happening as well. And I think it'll be an extraordinary occurrence if next year the Labor Party doesn't win the New South Wales election, because what Matt Kean is doing to the party, and no one's going to get rid of him because it's his faction that runs the New South Wales Liberal Party, what he is doing is so destructive to the rank and file.
Yeah, look, I think what we have to consider, I guess, is what people vote for when they vote Liberal. I think going and chasing Labor and Green issues certainly doesn't sufficiently motivate Liberals to come out and vote. I think that's a bit of a problem. And I think that you've got to ask the rank and file membership who they want to represent them, because downstream from not having things like pre-selections, you end up with party rooms full of people who don't represent Liberal voters. And that's essentially what this has been always about for me.
And certainly the rank and file understand the electorate more than someone sitting in an office in Canberra. The way they left this to the 11th hour to pre-select those Liberal candidates was just grossly amateurish and self-defeating, wasn't it?
Yeah, look, I think it left a lot to be desired, mate, and I do think that that had a major impact on the party's ability to win the federal election. It wasn't the stuff that happened at the late stage. It was the fact that, you know, people weren't turning up to NRC meetings or nomination meetings to further processes that would get candidates in the field and get them in the field quickly enough that they could get their message across and win seats.
You went all the way to the High Court. Do you regret that now that you've been kicked out of the party?
No, look, I mean, I never wanted to get kicked out of the party. I certainly want to get back into the party. I love the Liberal Party. I think it's the only hope that we have as a nation to really set a sound vision for the future. I don't regret taking the party to court. I think it was the only way that we could have even gotten close to having those pre-selections that we voted for at the time of the Rose Hill Convention. The membership was on board. They were very excited and enlivened by the idea of having selections, and it seemed like a few people in the halls of power wanted to deny that, right? And I think we've ultimately paid the ultimate price for it.
I think you're doing a great thing for the Liberal Party, because from revolution comes evolution, and hopefully these messages are getting through to the likes of Peter Dutton and Dominic Perrottet. All the very best, Matthew. Thank you very much for your time this morning.
No, thank you.
Good to have you on the program. You featured heavily in that Four Corners show last night, and will make a lot of rank and file Liberal Party supporters think twice about where the party is heading, especially in New South Wales. It's 4-8.
Mum.
So that was really interesting. Now, a lot of you guys are probably thinking, Joel, what are you doing? Why are you showing all this stuff about the Liberal Party? Well, first off, we can't pretend for any second now that the Liberal Party is irrelevant. They're not. They actually got the most amount of funding, the most amount of votes. They even got more votes, I do believe, than the Labor Party, but they didn't get them in the right seats, in the right sequence. Labor got in with a lot of votes from the Greens and the Teals. That's how they managed to get in. Now, the problem we've got here is that we have something like 6 Freedom Senators in Parliament right now. In the lower house, we've got Bob Katter, and in the upper house, we've got Pauline Hanson, Malcolm Roberts. We've got Senator Gerard Rennick from the Liberal Party in Queensland. We've got Senator Antic from South Australia from the Liberal Party again. And, you know, we've got to remember that what the situation we've got here is the fact that we've also got another Liberal Party member, Matt Canavan in Queensland. Now, these Liberal Party MPs, they are all in the Liberal Party still. They're not in the Freedom Parties. So you've got to be very concerned about what's going on in the major party, the Liberal Party. It still gets a lot of funding from our taxpayer dollars. As much as we don't like it, they still get a lot of funding from them. And the major parties, they're further entrenching themselves in power. They passed legislation that the Liberal Democrats, the Libertarian Party, had to change their name. They got something like over 20 to 30 political parties deregistered with legislation that they passed. The Liberal, the Labor, the Greens, the Nationals, they're working together to get rid of the minor parties. And it's getting to the point where we only have the majority of the Freedom Senators are still in the Liberal Party. There's at least 3 of them. Remember, Senator Antic, Senator Gerard Rennick, and also sorry, I should really have them listed out. And also the other one from Queensland as well. Now, what we've got is a situation where we've got to pay attention to the internal politics of the Liberal Party, because people like Matt Camanzuli, they are good people in the Liberal Party. They are good people that are fighting against mandatory jabs, against lockdowns. They're business owners. They're people that actually care about this country. They care about what's going on. And when you see these undemocratic things happening from people that like Scott Morrison or people like Alex Hawke, you've got to pay attention to what's going on in it, because it's these people, you know, they're getting absolutely smashed by the mainstream media. Now, tomorrow night at 6 p.m., at 4 p.m., I'll actually be watching this whole documentary, 40 minutes with you guys. I'm really looking forward to it. I can't wait to actually have a chat and look and delve into it. But it's going to be really interesting to see exactly how and why Matthew Camanzuli, the one who took the Liberal Party to court, why he lost, what actually happened, and is this something where he's going to give up, or is he trying to get back into the party? And it sounds like he is. Now, I'm really looking forward to seeing how that goes. And I think it'll be really fascinating. Now, there's 400 of you listening live right now. Give it a share, get it out there, and make sure that we really share this out to everyone. The next thing I want to pivot and go and talk to, and this is sort of breaking news. It's still an evolving story. It happened about 24 hours ago. There was a couple of resignations that happened, and it was over in the UK. Now, the Liberal Party in New South Wales, the Liberal Party in Australia, they're going through a crisis of conscience right now. In the UK, the United Kingdom, they are having a similar situation. Their Liberal Party is called the Conservative Party. It has slightly different policies, and they are the party that took to the last election. They fought against the globalists to get out of the European Union. They fought against the globalists. Now, Boris Johnson was the Prime Minister that took them to that election. Unfortunately, in the last few years, he is, through COVID, through the lockdowns, through all the measures, the mandatory jabs, he has slowly betrayed the people that put him there. And people are very unhappy about it. Now, Nigel Farage is someone that has characterized this particular relationship, Boris Johnson and Boris Johnson's Conservative voters, as toxic. And it's really interesting to listen to that. Nigel Farage is one of the most amazing commentators on politics. He's a clairvoyant. He's an amazing speaker. Have a listen to this video. He really breaks down what's going on with Boris Johnson, because it's looking like it's becoming less and less likely that Boris Johnson will be the Prime Minister of the UK. Check this out.
This is a government built on lies. They think they can lie their way out of any situation. Is it any wonder that between a quarter and a third of Conservative 2019 voters now think the Prime Minister is a liar? Well, he may, as David Cameron once have said, have been a grease piglet. You can never get hold of him. He always gets away. This time it can't happen. And if he stays, then the Conservatives are headed for the biggest electoral cataclysm since 1997. It might be even worse than that. People don't trust them. They've been, frankly, too dishonest, too often, for far too long. Now is the time to find out whether the party can be saved, or whether it's going to be dragged down with Johnson and a bunch of college kids running number 10. If no one in that cabinet is prepared to stand down as a matter of principle, my view is they would all automatically disqualify themselves from being fit and proper to be the next leader, as and when that happens, and it will happen at some point this year. So I would say, if there's going to be any hope of decency being restored, faith being restored, trust being restored, honesty and decency being restored, it needs one or more cabinet ministers today to say enough is enough. We simply can't go on. Oliver Dowden did go after the by-elections a few days ago, but the truth is he was probably on the way out as party chairman anyway. It needs someone with principle, holding one of the great offices of state. Otherwise, their careers will end the same as Johnson's. And goodness knows how we ever get trust back in politics. Brexit was supposed to be about a new beginning, not just us outside the European Union, but a new kind of politics. It is now more corrupt and worse than it's ever been. A government shrouded in lies is a government that needs to go.
Well, there you have it, guys. Now, he put the call out there basically saying, look, is there any leader among you? Is there anyone in the Conservative Party over there, the Liberal Party per se, that is willing to stand up and say, you know what, I am not happy with Boris Johnson lying. I'm not happy with Partygate, where they flouted the COVID rules. I'm not happy with the fact that the Prime Minister over there, Boris Johnson, is not showing proper leadership on a number of topics. And so now we're in a situation where we might be seeing a different Prime Minister from the Conservative Party in the UK. Absolute turmoil. Now, Nigel put the call out there and he says, if no one stands up, then we're going for a massive loss that we haven't seen for decades for the Conservative Party. That's going to be really interesting to see. And in fact, at the early hours of this morning, it was around about 4 or 5 a.m., I turned on the news on LBC radio. It turns out that a couple of the MPs actually did resign, and not just any MPs. These are frontline MPs. There were Rishi Sunak, the treasurer over there, they call them the Chancellor, and Sajid Javid, who is the Health Secretary. They both resigned from the government. So they're on the cabinet. These are people that Boris Johnson picked, and they were shaping COVID policy. They were shaping financial policy. I mean, as you guys know, if you're the treasurer in Australia, you're like Josh Frydenberg was under Scott Morrison, you're usually believed to be the next in line to be the Prime Minister if something would happen to Scott Morrison. That's why people were so devastated when Josh Frydenberg went. But good riddance to him. I don't want to see him. But the point here is that these two ministers resigned because they have lost confidence in Boris Johnson and what's going on over there. Why should you care? Why should you care what's going on in the UK? That's probably what you guys are saying in the comment section right now. Well, there's this crisis going on right now. There are conservative parties around the world, whether it's the Republicans in America, whether it's the Conservative Party in the UK, whether it's the Liberal Party and the civil war that's going on in Australia. The trend is the same. People don't know what they believe, they don't know what they stand for, and the conservative parties have completely forgotten the people that put them there. The quiet Australians, Americans, Welshmen, people in England. You know, what's going on in Australia is no different. We're seeing a crisis of leadership, a crisis of courage, a crisis of family, people not knowing how to lead in their own lives, people, not understanding how the political system works, people engaging for the political system for the first time in generations. This is the point we're at in the West, and that is why we keep coming across similar problems that we're seeing overseas. Nigel Farage is absolutely phenomenal, and it's really interesting to see how over time he has helped shift goals in the UK. Similarly, in Australia, who are the people in Australia like Nigel Farage that are shifting democracy in a direction that is for the people, that are listening to the unheard, that are listening to that 15 to 20% of freedom fighters like yourselves out there? That is the question that's going on. That's why I always pay attention to what's going on overseas, because you can learn from it. Now, it'll be really interesting to see exactly how that pans out and what ends up going on. I'm really looking forward to seeing how Australians stand up in the next few weeks, because this is what's going on, and I'm sure you would have seen this. The clown show continues. Dr. Kerry Chant and Brad Hazzard, the Minister for Health in New South Wales, have basically said, if you haven't had your full 3 doses of the jab, to put it bluntly, you're crazy. That's what Brad Hazzard said. Now, I think that I think he's crazy. I think he's a bully. I think that, as John Larder always says, he's a grub. I think what he's done to this state of New South Wales is disgusting. We're seeing a return back of COVID measures. The measures haven't been enforced yet, but they're alluding to it. They're dipping the toe in the water of the Australian, attitude. They want to see how Australians react to it. And what I think's happening is a lot of Aussies, whether they're jabbed, whether they're unjabbed, they're rejecting it outright. They're saying, no, we don't want this. Your fear campaign is not working. We're upset with you. You've robbed us of our jobs. We've got ravid inflation happening. I can't afford to pay my energy bills. I can't afford a lot of things. This is ridiculous what you're doing. So it's going to be really interesting to see how that pans out and how the week goes, essentially. Now, this is only a short broadcast, guys. I just wanted to say hi. I wanted to let you know what's going on the world. I've been taking some time to lay the groundwork for a lot of things that are going on in the future. We've got the state elections happening. In November, we've got the Victorian state election, and in March next year, we've got the New South Wales state election. We learned a lot from the federal elections, and we've got a lot of work to do, absolutely. A lot of people are down about the federal election. We did very well, guys. We did very well. There were 6 states where we came between a hair of winning the Senate spot for those states. 6 senators. We only ended up getting 2 of them. So now we've got Ralph Babbitt in Victoria. That makes 6 senators. Now, the way that the balance of power works, we missed out by 1 or 2 seats. That's pretty damn slim, but it's not bad considering this freedom movement has only been around for about 2 years. Stay tuned with the people that you like. Stay tuned with the people that are offering you answers and you tools. There are more than one way to fight back other than elections. If you're concerned about shortages, then put your concerns at ease by investing your time and energy into laying down plans so that you can be prepared for you and your family. Remember, we're a community and we look out for each other. Now, this year, as you guys know, I work with Turning Point Australia. I'm not on salary or anything. I run on the donations that you guys provide. So I want to thank you guys so much for that. If you want to support my work, if you want to continue my ongoing coverage, be sure to donate below. I'm back now. I had my break. It was really good to take that break because I've been getting smashed since Canberra in February, where we all hit up Canberra. So I'm really looking forward to continuing this coverage. I've got a lot of interviews coming up. Tomorrow night, we'll be looking at exactly what's going on with that Four Corners situation, that documentary that was done on the Liberal Party. So tune in at 4 p.m. tomorrow. We'll watch it together. It's about 40 minutes. And on Friday, at about 4 or 5 p.m. as well, we'll also be looking at the nuclear discussion as well, where Chris Kenny did an amazing documentary. It's about 59 minutes long, and it's really interesting, and it puts to death the idea of what's going on with the climate change debate. And this is quite apt because, I mean, look at this breaking news just in. The European Parliament declares nuclear power and gas as green energy. That's bloody amazing. I think that's awesome. And I think it's really good because it's putting to death this climate change debate that was going on. This was the thing we were all worried about. We were worried about climate change being the thing that comes after COVID, climate lockdowns. But it's looking like the narrative's dying. Why? Because of what's happening with the war in Ukraine. What's going on? And a lot of you got a lot guys like, oh no, Joel, it's a psyop. It's just a distraction. What the war is doing specifically, what I'm saying is, it's forcing the countries to wean themselves off Russian gas. It means that they can't muck around anymore, guys. It means they have to fire up their coal-powered stations again. They have to fire up gas and their nuclear power plants like in France. They can't butt around it anymore. And that's really good for us because in Australia, we're one of the biggest nuclear exporters of nuclear material in the world, but we don't use it for ourselves except for medical stuff. So on Friday, we'll be looking at that documentary at 4 or 5 p.m. And tomorrow, tune in at 4 p.m. We'll be looking at exactly what this Four Corners thing was. Who knows? We might see some guest appearances. I'm really looking forward to bringing it to you. There's 500 people listening live. I'm humbled by the fact that 500 of you have tuned in tonight so late. Give this a share. Get it out there. If 500 of you share it, this will reach 15,000 people. That's money. That's amazing. That's really cool because during an election, that's really valuable. Here's some good news for you guys. I'm working on a report on Turning Point, what we did in the last financial year. We reached millions of people with our views. I think we reached over 16 million people. No promotion, no nothing. It was just from you guys sharing it. Amazing. It was awesome. And it was really cool to see we had over 200 to 250,000 downloads of our How to Vote cards for Turning Point Australia. That's not my success. That's your success. You guys got it out there. You shared it to your friends and family, and we made a massive dent in the major parties. We ended up defunding the major parties something like $1 to $1.4 million. That's amazing. And if you look at the budget we're working with, it's hilarious. It's all running on donations from you guys. So thank you so much. Click the link in the description if you want to donate to me. Again, here it is. But I really want to thank you guys for having a break. As I said, have a break, come back refreshed, and we've got plenty of plans for this year. We're not slowing down. We've got plans to enter the universities. We've got plans to educate people on what's going on. We've got animation series coming up. We've got a situation where we're looking at doing national tours where guests from overseas come and speak, and I'll let you know when that happens. We've got our first guests coming up very soon, and I'm really looking forward to sharing all this with you guys. We did learn a lot from the election. Are we disappointed we didn't do better? Absolutely. But we came between, there was a hair difference in actually getting in 6 of the states. It was so close. So remember that I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. And I'm really looking forward to having a chat with you guys about what's going on. Now, in New South Wales, the majority of the viewers that are probably tuned in right now are here. Please drive safely. Please be safe, especially those of you that are actually in Lismore. I'm really hoping that you guys are okay. There's a lot of people in my audience that have been hit hard, and I see your messages in my inbox. I'm sorry I can't get back to all of you, but I want to thank you all for tuning in. Thank you so much. I will see you later. Give it a share. If you can donate, that's the best thing you can do to support me. I'll be back tomorrow, 4 p.m. to listen to Four Corners with you, and on Friday to listen to the Sky News documentary on nuclear energy. I'll see you guys later. Take it easy. Ciao.